The only advantage I have over other Uber and Lyft drivers is my online skills. It is my experience with YouTube, doing affiliate marketing. You know, people like the Rideshare Professor aren't on YouTube just playing games. They're making money outside of the apps. And unlike some other Uber drivers, at least I have a plan to get out. A lot of Uber drivers, especially my age, don't have a plan. I would say the younger ones, they're only doing it part-time a lot of times. And when I say younger, I'm thinking like millennial age, 30-something. But if you notice, people 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s are coming to YouTube because they realize that there is no future in the corporate world. There's not going to be any good future in the corporate world, Democrat or Republican. There's just not, unless you're making more of an impact than just minimum wage. Minimum wage ain't cutting it for me anymore. It's not. And I'm not even afraid to share my plan, because I would even share my plan with people in my state. I would share this plan with at least 20 to 30 people in my state and not worry about competition. Not even worry about competition, because I'm doing too much. The average person ain't gonna work hard as me. I hate to say that. And when I say work, I think back on my days at Bed Bath & Beyond, because they used to get on me about being physically slow moving, whatever. They said I showed up on time, but I was slow. This ain't the type of work I'm talking about. Physical work doesn't really pay real money. For the average person anyway. That kind of physical work in the retail setting. You know? And I knew that back then. Therefore, was I doing it on purpose? Not really. I was kind of just fed up. I was 10 years in that business, and I went in already defeated because I came off a failed business. So I kind of went back into retail, defeated, washed up, feeling like giving up on life. But now that I learned online skills, and I put that with my 6 years as a driver, I realized I have everything I need to be successful. I had it all along for years. I didn't combine the two. I was doing affiliate marketing for years, guys. And I never once thought, why can't I put the physical world together with the online space? And I went to some fake guru, E. Dean Cole, let him talk me in the idea of you gotta have an offshore corporation. No, you don't. Not an offshore corporation, a corporation you set up for anonymity in Wyoming. You don't need that. I talk a lot about holding companies, and I will build a holding company, but this is going to be an operational company, a LLC that I set up to do all my operational activities, mainly to build business credit. Now, here's the best part about this idea. It only has to bring in $5,000 a month. And 4 of it is my living expenses. That's it. $4,000 is my living expenses. And maybe some money to go shopping. You know, your business only has to make $5,000 a month. Why $5,000 a month? I like to say that's the entry level mark. Of course, you can make it more, but you gotta set this company up to make at least $5,000 a month. Because once you hit the $5,000 a month, that's where banks, unconventional lenders, anybody you could think of who's going to lend you money based on your company's revenue, that's where they like to start. There are some, I will say, recently, because everybody's struggling, there are some companies that if you're making at least $4,000 a month, they still work with you. You can make $4,000 a month eventually with a YouTube channel. You see where I'm going with this? But let me go deeper. How are you going to fund this? Because not everybody understands how to build an online business. But Uber and Lyft drivers, we know about gig economy. Uber Eats delivery, roadie people, Spark. I want you to set this LLC up, and the beauty part about it is you can fund it with gig economy. We can set this up, fund it with gig economy, and make the $5,000 a month. And I don't want you to necessarily count your job. The goal is to make $5,000 a month from, if gig economy is your only job, then this will actually work better because you're going to put more income in your account. But I don't want people to feel strapped or stressed out that they got to put their regular job income into this. You're going to set up an LLC. You're going to make it as easy as possible. You can do it yourself, but I'm going to recommend you go with some of these filing companies. InkFile's a popular one. And as I'm going through the steps, I'm going to be talking about this on my Uber and Lyft channel, which is Nice Guy Driver. So you'll want to check that out. I'll be going through the steps, every step, how to pick out your business name. Where should you go to get a business address? Where should you go if you want to do a filing company or you want to do it yourself, which I don't recommend, but you can. Be even cheaper. Once you set this LLC up, your goal, again, through gig economy. Now, for people that don't have cars, you don't do gig economy, any side hustle you could think of. So any side hustle you could think of, like babysitting, your dog walking, any revenue you generate that you could think of, that's what you're going to put into this LLC till you get to that $5,000 a month. Remember, that $5,000 a month is a magical number. Now you're able to get business loans. Someone in your organization has a personal credit score of at least 680. It's going to make this process easier because you might want to guarantee at least one loan or line of credit in the beginning. But there's ways that you could possibly not have to put in any of your money to even pay up the upfront. Well, you get reimbursed, we'll say, from the upfront cost it's going to take you to do all this, which is not going to be a lot. You're talking probably to do everything. You're talking less than $1,000. You're talking maybe $800 to set your company up right the first time, possibly even less. It depends on your state. That's why I can't tell you exactly. But I would say anywhere outside of California and New York, you could do this for probably $300 to $500 set up. You got your LLC. You're funded with your gig economy. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go after grants. I have two of the top tier real grant sources. And when I say real, you're not just going to go Google how to get grants. It's not going to work. This is why Google and OpenAI are going through this battle, because Google is not going to give you this information. Two of the best grant sources, so you could possibly right out the gate, as soon as you get your LLC going, maybe 6 months in, you want to be funding it while this is going. You're going to apply for grants that you might not even have to pay back. And if you're doing, I'm basically calling this a transportation company. So I'm going to take the taxi and delivery code, NAICS code. But you could probably get away with any code as long as it's, I'll give you an example of a high-risk code. Trucking is a high-risk code. I would not use trucking. That's why I would say taxi and delivery. Probably the lowest risk code you could probably do to bring you the most in business credit is probably software publisher, for example. But you want to pick a code that the banks are going to be able to find. For example, don't do something super generic like business services, because that's not specific to a real business. When people pick the NAICS code of business services, that's so broad and general that they're going to immediately ask you, what do you do? Pick a code where you walk into a bank, and if you were to sit down and give them your code, they know exactly what you do. That's the best way I can answer that without it being too high risk. Taxi and delivery happens to be one of the most lowest risk code in transportation. There's a lot of codes for transportation that are lower risk than just trucking, but just pick a low risk code that's not too broad. In the past, I recommended management company. I would say don't do that one. That's too broad. Again, pick a code that's specific to your industry without being high risk. Software publisher is low risk, and I would not pick media because media is higher risk than software publisher. But under that software publisher code, you can still do media, you can still do YouTube. You see where I'm going? But when you walk in the bank, they're not asking you, what do you do? I'm a software publisher. It's plain. When you walk in, what do you do? Taxi and delivery. But you can still do limousine service under that. You can still do courier service under that. You could even still do marketing under that code. You could do marketing under pretty much any code, but I would not pick a marketing code because it looks higher risk. Consulting, I would not pick that, and don't put it in your name. You can't put anything in your name. I go into that. It's going to be generic. Got to be a generic name, something that doesn't mean anything. Even the transportation companies try to make you think you got to put transportation in your company name, and you don't. I would stay away from your real last name, because even though this is a transparent company, you're not hiding anything. You want to make this different from your last name for branding purposes. I'm going to go into the best 1-800 numbers that link back to your cell phone, that when you call out on the person's caller ID, it shows your 1-800 number. And you can still take texts, which is great when you tell people, this is my cutoff time, but if it's an emergency, text that number, and we might get back to you. So this is going to be some of the things I'm talking about. Now, the business credit side, this is the part that's going to give me a lot of content for my finance channels, because we're going to be talking about every form of credit line we get on the channel. You know what I mean? But I'll stick to the transportation part of the business on Nice Guy Driver and Bootsy Blandon channel, because those are more of the transportation stuff, the courier stuff, getting the licenses for the business. We can even talk about on that channel. But the aspects of the building the business credit. So I've got like 5 channels I actively post on, but I'm gonna have enough content, which is one subject of building this company, that I'll have content for all 5 channels, if that makes sense. It is gonna be like a marketing company, because I still gotta do marketing. Every company you create should have a department or a division that does marketing. And that's where the YouTube channels come in. So I'm gonna get the traffic. Now here's what I think is the genius part. As I'm going through the steps of building a physical business and people can understand it, the bank can understand it. I'm at Chase Bank now, about to put money in. They can understand the physical business, but they really can't understand the online stuff. But here's how you could do both. With that same LLC, you could go in and the videos content from just talking about the process over the next 6 to 12 months, I could put in my own OTT platform and on YouTube, and not only get referrals, because you got to understand every step I'm going through is an affiliate marketing product. The 1-800 number is affiliate marketing product. Possibly the business address. What else? The filing company. You're usually going to have affiliate marketing link for that. The online bank, because you want to have at least, that's something else I go into. I go into where you need to have an anchor bank, which, believe it or not, even Chase has affiliate programs for people to open up new bank accounts. So I can put that link. Your online bank, because I recommend you get at least one fintech bank. That's going to be affiliate marketing product. So as you're going, you're going to put these links on your YouTube channel, and you're going to be marketing a OTT platform where you can control ownership over your content. This is very important. Control the ownership of your content, and that also could go into your account, and that same business account, to help you get to that $5,000 a month. I'm renting 2 bedrooms. They're giving me cash. Guess where that money could go? Also could go right into the business bank account. Now, what I also gonna do is show you whatever company I go to for my payroll, affiliate marketing product. You see where I'm going with this? You're not just relying on transportation now. You're not just relying on Uber and Lyft to fund your life. The Rideshare Professor does this. The Rideshare Guy Network, Show Me the Money Club, they do this, but they don't break it down where a typical Uber driver understands it. They're not telling you, oh, anytime, if you notice Show Me the Money Guy, they talk about different products and apps. They're giving you their affiliate link to sign up for these. The Rideshare Professor, when he tells you that they can hit the law firms he's worked with, can help you get back online after they deactivate you, that's an affiliate marketing product. He will even tell you that. Everything you do for your business has to be an affiliate marketing product. So now you're not just relying on Uber and Lyft money. Or some of you might be like, well, why are you always crying about Uber and Lyft? Are you still doing this? I'm crying about Uber and Lyft because we're not paying fairly. Regardless of what exterior money I make, they're still robbing us. So I think some drivers think I should just be happy because I'm making money elsewhere of getting robbed or getting my tip stolen. No. I'm never going to be happy with that. But I'm doing something about it. I'm showing other drivers how to get out this friggin' rat race of just doing Uber and Lyft the rest of our lives until we're 70 and 80 years old. If you're under 70 or even over 70, be honest with you, you need to start a channel. If you're over 40, you need to start a channel. That's going to be your traffic source. The physical business, remember, you got $5,000 a month coming in. That's all the banks need to qualify you to get lines of credit. What do you do with the lines of credit? You go buy vehicles. You can put drivers in those vehicles. Guess what? Somebody asked me the other day, is part of your plan buying a Tesla to put in your fleet? Yes, it is. Where am I going to get the money? The money's coming in from business credit. The $5,000 a month is going in to pay back when I use the lines of credit. We could possibly have enough by the time Elon supposedly is ready with his robo-taxis, purchase a robo-taxi under our own LLC. Have the robo-taxi working for us. Now we're no longer what? We're no longer driving and stressing about Uber and Lyft. I'm tired of crying about Uber and Lyft. I'm tired of crying about Uber and Lyft. So I'm actually going to do something about it. I don't know why. When I had the opportunity, when I set up my original holding company and set it up out of state, you don't want to do that because that hinders when you have a company set up for anonymity. Although you could build business credit with it, it hinders you from getting other lines of business credit. You need an operational LLC to bring in that $5,000 a month. When you're going to do your payroll, obviously you're bringing in $5,000 a month. You're only going to pay yourself $4,000. You have to have the company funding money. Now, with all these other online options, the goal is what? Get to $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month. I could write a book with AI technology based on my real input. I could go in and ChatGPT, go in and talk about my life. Doesn't have to be ChatGPT. Gemini's getting good, Claude's getting good, and you're not just focusing on AI because you're giving your real input. I was born Norwalk, Connecticut, struggling. My mom was an addict. You're going into ChatGPT. You're giving them details. I got 2 brothers. I got 1 daughter. That's going to structure a book. Now you can write a book on not only your life, but how you started your private rides, your courier business, your medical transportation business. It could all be one in the same LLC. You can have 5 licenses, limo, non-medical emergency. You can purchase cargo vans with your future credit. You want to have everything out of your personal name. I still have my Uber and Lyft money going to my personal name. That will change as of 2025. I'm going to get my Uber and Lyft name into this company. Because again, you want to have as much money as you can going in your business account. It doesn't matter if it pays out. That's the beauty of this. The banks don't care if the money's paying out, just as long as you got money going in. And you can have a fintech bank. You can have an anchor bank like Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo. They're all corrupt. So we don't even want to go there because that'll give us more content. But they're all corrupt. But you want to have at least one anchor bank you can physically walk in, deposit your funds. You want to have one fintech bank. There's reasons for it that I'll go into in the future. And possibly one good credit union. You want to have all three. Preferably a local credit union, because this is going to be a local company. Now, when do we get to the good stuff? Is when this company starts bringing in 10 grand a month or less. Now you can turn around and go build the holding company. Now, why do you need a holding company? Because the holding company is going to protect your operational company, because it's going to own it. You're going to now have that operational company owned by your holding company you're going to build after the fact, and that's going to protect your real assets. What are your real assets? If you have any stocks, if you have any crypto, and that will be out of state with anonymity. We'll still do that, BOI, whatever they call it, for the Transparency Act. Still going to do that. You're not hiding from necessarily that part of the government. You're hiding from the average person that slips and falls, wants to sue you. They can't sue you because now you're high risk. In my case, a little high risk. Low risk name, low risk code, but it's still transportation. It owns vehicles. Will eventually be owned by my holding company, and then we'll get more elaborate on my finance channels. The holding company will be owned by what? Your living trust. And the living trust should really not even be in your name. Your house could be in your living trust, but by way of a LLC, so no one knows that it's owned by your living trust. You know, everything's giving you some anonymity, but your operational company, you don't want to hide. You want people to know you own it when you set it up. Later, you could sell it or transfer ownership to your holding company. So they'll see that you manage the company. They'll see that you originally owned it, but it'll look like you sold it to your holding company, and now you just manage it. And now any liabilities, so one of your drivers hit somebody, they can only take stuff from that company, but they can't go after you personally. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, well, the LLC does that. Yeah, it does, but not 100%. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, one of these professionals, but this is information I'm learning over time, that an LLC will not protect you from everything. You are still going to have insurance for your business. Yes, I understand that. You are still going to have some protections with your LLC, but I like to cross, all the T's, dot the I's. Is that the term? So eventually you will have a holding company, but that elaborate setup ain't needed until you make some money. That's what nobody's telling us. I think Glendon Cameron was the only one saying it. He was saying that you don't need all this elaborate setup. You ain't making no money. People right out the gate. And a lot of, even me in the past, I've said that you should do a holding company first. And if you're not doing transportation, you actually could do that, because you could technically set up an LLC just as a software publisher, and only do online stuff if that's the field you're in, or e-commerce. But I like to just get some money going. I think you should keep it simple. This is for purposes of making money, building credit fast. You're funding it with the money you're already making. So a lot of you might be thinking, well, how do I get the $5 grand? You should be already making some money. Remember, you're bringing in other ways of bringing in money later, to get to that $5 grand a month. By the time you get to $5 grand a month, banks will already be giving you offers. Put it that way. If you have an anchor bank like Chase and you got $5 grand a month steady going in, even if you're paying yourself out you're probably going to start getting offers. And if you got a couple affiliate dollars going in, it should be not hard to make at least $4,000 a month, which will still keep you in there where you can still borrow money. And I would only try to get lines of credit that they don't charge you until you use the line of credit. But credit cards, if you get a $50,000 credit card and that helps you go buy a vehicle to put a driver in it, that works. I'm not going to recommend that right out the gate, but that works. You'll see people will start offering you money, throwing money at you when you got $5,000 a month coming in steady. You know? And now you're not relying on just Uber and Lyft now. You know why? Because by the time you're making $5,000 a month, you'll probably have at least 2 other drivers other than yourself. From those 2 other drivers, you should be making a minimum $200 a day. You should be bringing in at least $100 a day. That's a 6-figure business right there. You should be getting lines of credit, corporate and business, to the point where you can go out and buy more cars, more drivers, start a rental business without Turo. I'm thinking about doing that with the same LLC. You know, not on a grand scheme. You got to remember, you don't have to do a grand scheme, because if you rent out 4 or 5 cars, now you got a full-time job. You can rent out 1 vehicle to an Uber driver. He pays you $97 a day. He pays you direct. You don't need Turo. You go insure your own cars. You got money coming in. You got 2 other drivers on the road. Y'all hitting each other up with walkie-talkie. Next thing you know, you got a government grant to start your own app. Now you're competing with Uber and Lyft. You gotta think big, guys. You gotta think big. If you don't think big, you're never gonna do anything other than be a worker bee, and just every day talking in these apps. And you could do, if you love delivery, this is perfect. Roadie, courier apps. This is the busy season. Right now, this is the busy season. By this time next year, when Uber is even slower, you could go buy a cargo van with corporate credit. That's credit that you didn't even have to use your social for, because the business has so many lines of credit, it can now have its own corporate credit. Now you can go buy another cargo van. Now you got a full-fledged courier business within the same LLC. A portion of that money, to protect it, is going to flow up to where? The holding company. You know, somebody slip and falls and you see it coming way in advance, because, you know, the law is funny. If you see it last minute, they'll say you moved it because of that. You can actually move money from that operational company up to that holding company. Keep a little in there for operationals. And now you protected your cash, because that holding company is out of state, Delaware, Wyoming, protected. And you're going to name that something totally different from your operational company. And you're not lying. If you go stand up in a court of law, did you sell this company to this corporation? Yes, I did, legally. Here's a document. You actually can have your law firm draw up a document saying this holding company purchased this operational company. I don't want to get too elaborate in this video, but you see where I'm going. And no, I'm not smart. I'm not. I'm a regular Uber driver. People don't give Uber drivers credit. We actually are doing a lot. Some Uber drivers are lawyers, for God's sakes. Some Uber drivers were actually in fields that if they had business credit, guess what they could do? They can go back to it. This could be that company. And I'm sharing that journey with you because even if this video reaches thousands, and only 5 Uber and Lyft drivers see this video and be like, yo, he might be on to something. We can make our own economy. And then we're going to be going into payment processors. That's a whole nother lane. Stripe, we could talk about. Chime. I could put that on the finance channels. PayPal, we could be talking about. Any payment processor, you want to have 1 million payment processors. Why? I don't trust none of them. You don't never want to have all your money in one payment processor. Never. I want to get Venmo, PayPal, but that's another video. See what I'm saying? I could do a video just on PayPal. I could do another video on Chime, Venmo. What are these other ones coming out? There's newer ones coming out. Stripe. Square has a new feature that I saw on Mic Drop BBQ, where they could just tap with their card and you could input, send them a receipt. That's a good one. Square could actually do your website for your business. And Square has what? Affiliate marketing program. Everything's got to be a marketing program, affiliate marketing program. And everything that's going to help build your business. And you don't have to be like me. You don't have to do 5 YouTube channels. Do 1 YouTube channel just for traffic to promote your physical business. It don't have to be transportation, but I'm saying transportation because I'm speaking to the Uber and Lyft drivers in the world. But I got to go. I got to put this money in the bank and go see my daughter today. I've been talking to you guys for a minute. But you see how passionate I am about sharing this information, because somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to hear this story and they're going to get it and be like, you know what? Will's on to something. I'm going to keep watching. You know, I'm going to keep watching him and go through the steps and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? You'll have an LLC. You know? But I want to thank you guys for your continued support. If you want to continue to support for free, subscribe, like, comment, check those links below, click that bell icon, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Thank you.